He passed away unfortunately on October 28th, and that was just about 6 months after he retired. He even after he retired, he volunteered at the senior center and was just there the previous Wednesday, volunteering at the luncheon. He leaves behind adult children who were very surprised. It was unexpected, and we just will miss him dearly. Everyone at the senior center is devastated, especially the seniors who have known him for many years. He got married at the senior center when his wife passed away. They had her service at the senior center, and those seniors did their best to take care of him for a long time afterwards. They brought him meals. I think at one point, I think after Joseph retired, they even signed a petition to have him be the senior center director. And they just loved him so much because he was so lovable. And we're still just surprised he's not with us anymore. So I would like to just express how much we cared about him. And at a minimum, we'd love to have this moment of silence. So there you go. Thank you.
Now we will move on to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'd like to welcome back Manager White.
Thank you. We invited, unfortunately, Renee Hamlin, who is the chair of the BRCA Steering Committee, could not be present. She was going to lead us in the pledge. As you know, BRCA stands for Butterfield Riviera East Community Association, and she has been on the BRCA Steering Committee for many years. So I'm sorry she wasn't here. So you're stuck with me. I'm gonna start us off on the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
We cover that up. Okay, now we will have a roll call, please.
Director Sloan.
Here.
Director Damsel.
Here.
Secretary Yearwood.
Here.
Vice Chair Reyes.
Here.
And Chair Lineback.
Here. And item B, comment by the public on non-agenda items.
Thank you. Members of the public may address the board on district topics not listed on this agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. It's a violation of state law for the board to discuss and take action on non-agenda items. Board members may only briefly ask clarifying questions or refer the matter to staff. I see one raised hand, so I'll call on Mr. Mark Mattis. Please confirm whether this is for a general or for a item on the agenda.
Yes, I do. It's on G1.
Okay, we will call on.
Is it my turn?
When we get to the item, then we will call on you.
Oh, so I have to wait till G1?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'll wait.
Thank you. I see no other requests for public comment.
Okay, so now we move on to item C, the consent calendar.
Thank you. Consent calendar items are considered administratively routine and will be acted upon in one motion. Unless a separate action on a specific item is necessary, the chairperson will consider any request for discussion on the items prior to approval of the consent calendar. And Chair Lineback, I would like to pull item C1 and item C3 for separate votes due to member attendance at those meetings.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other items that anyone would like to?
I'd like to pull item C6 on the MRID. Oversight committee.
Okay, so we have a request to pull C1, C3, and C6. Is there a motion for the other consent items?
I'll move that we approve consent items C2, C4, C5, C7, and C8 as,
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Director Danzel, roll call please.
Director Sloan.
Yep.
Director Gansel.
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood.
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes.
I.
And Chair Lineback.
So, now, can we have a motion to approve item C1 for a separate vote?
I move we approve item C1.
Thank you, Director Danzel.
Second. Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan.
Aye.
Director Gansel.
Aye.
Director Sloan, is an
Aye.
abstention.
Thank you. Director Gansel.
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood.
Abstain.
Thank you. Vice Chair Reyes.
Aye.
And Chair Lineback.
Aye. Now can we have a motion for a vote on item C3?
I'll move that we approve consent calendar item C3 for the meeting, special meeting of the Board of Directors.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes.
Second.
Thank you, Director Danzel. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan.
Aye.
Director Gansel.
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood.
Abstain.
Thank you. Vice Chair Reyes.
Aye.
And Chair Lineback.
Aye. And now we'll move on to item C6. Vice Chair Reyes?
Yes, I wanted to just clarify a few items here, and it's not really material things that need to be changed, but I wanted to make sure that we had it written properly. It's a little bit of a challenge here with the PMRID, which is zone by zone, the oversight committee, and then the measure J, which is my parks, which is not by zone, not tied down to the zones. And that is one of the items that I'd like to bring up, and maybe for the next time when we write the reports, become a lot clearer about that. Because I can see, some confusion there. The other thing I was gonna ask you is, we have, when you had a list of facilities, you had facilities and the facilities, where it said aquatic, and it listed White Rock as one of the aquatic centers. Are we considering that an aquatic center? It's a spray park. I know at one time it had a pool. I remember us, closing that. Maybe it was simply because at that time there was a pool there. I mean, is that how we call it, an aquatic center?
Well, because it's a splash park and it actually has features of a splash park with the slides, we would consider that an aquatic facility.
So then I think we need to really explain that and make sure that that's, no, because an aquatic facility, we got splash parks all over the place. The only difference is, yes, right.
I think the difference might be that the slide requires lifeguard.
Right.
Oh, so, well, simply state that, because look at me, I sit on the board, I've seen all this, and it doesn't make sense to me. But that would be good, aquatic, so we do consider White Rock an aquatic center because they have lifeguard. Is that it?
I mean, we would consider it a facility.
Uh-huh.
I mean, of course, it's water, so then you could correlate that with aquatics. But just like Chair Lineback said, it does require us to have lifeguards, especially if the slides are open. If the slides weren't open, it would be considered a splash park, a spray park like our other spray parks. But we do have to treat it as a facility based on the fact that we do have to have hired help there to make sure that we have the lifeguards, so it has the fence around it, and we take admissions for the slide. We take the $1 admissions if anyone wants to go ahead and participate in the slides.
Was a lot of that, you guys did with the 1 foot of water? That why?
It's the slides.
Not the fact that there's standing water.
Well, standing water would have to do with that as well. We don't have standing water there, we just have the slides, so that,
It goes into
They
the-
don't have stand.
no, there's no standing water.
The other side is water.
But if we did have, a facility that had the standing water, like a wading pool,
Right, it's small, I thought it was a small way.
you would also have lifeguards for wading. Correct, but for this one, for White Rock, it's because of the slides, there's no water standing around, it's basically.
Someone has to monitor.
Correct, that's part of the county of Sacramento's requirements.
So if we were going to consider it an aquatic center, so we have 3 aquatic centers. Is this what we're saying? Because I do know that there's been all this whole thing about one aquatic center for 100,000 residents in a certain area.
I think
And
that,
then we got,
yeah, I think
we've
as
got
staff,
Hagen
we can discuss if we want to call it an actual aquatic center, it's definitely an aquatic facility.
Yeah,
I would base it on that, but it's something that we can discuss internally and see if we want to make it an aquatic center in the future.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it will affect a lot, even, I mean, at least even in the studies of the necklace and.
Really, it's kind of a tiered,
Yeah.
it's kind of a tiered approach. It's like aquatic facility for, like Jill is describing, entry fees, a reason to staff it. Then it moves up to an aquatic center, which is mostly one, maybe 1.5 pools, similar to Cordova, and also the New Village. When we get into the larger aquatic complex, that's when we're talking multi-pools, facilities associated with it. So there's like 3 tiers in the industry that they define those types of facilities. One is literally facility, aquatic facility, so aquatics. The next is aquatic center, which is larger, and then the largest, which was the old,
Yeah.
Pagan community pool back in the day with 3 would be considered an aquatics complex.
Mhm.
So those are the tiers that I have noticed in terms of like terming the definitions of what these facilities are and how they are seen in terms of pulling analysis or comparison or benchmarks.
Okay, so I'm hoping that we can get that a little bit more clearly defined. My mic's not working.
Yeah, now we're back on now.
Clearly defined,
There you go.
is it better? I get that close, I guess. And my lipstick's.
And also, as we're defining those places in our optimized plan, that's
Yes.
something for us to consider in terms of direct definitions.
No doubt.
Yes, in terms and definitions, I think we need to do that because I do know that in particular, every time we were discussing the next study, I know there were some concerns about having too many aquatic centers. So let's use the right term for that.
The term is like, put it up. It would be considered a full service aquatic complex, that has pool and stuff. And this might be considered a water park. You know,
Well, we'll leave it up to staff.
Yeah, we'll have our consultant with the optimized plan give us good, clearly defined terms so that we are all on the same page.
Okay, so then I did, and I know I brought it up on that, on the, where is the capital improvement project under this, report? Yeah. Fast. No, it's end of report already. It's the one that looks just like the one we have in front of blue. And I just wanted to clarify that, there was, and so that you can explain, Matt, you can explain the reason why we see, Williamson, Park East and West there with,
yeah, this particular report.
yes, I think it's on page 49, which is page 9 of the report.
Right, yeah, so,
And it looks a little like, are we, the commitment of 600,000 instead of the 308 right now.
And that was the plan last year, going into last year for 21-22. So the PMRD is an annual report that was completed on June 30th, 2022. So it's 21-22 is what this annual oversight committee report reflects. And so the plan going into that was to take a look at both those parcels, but what ended up happening is the one that's deeded to us is the one that's getting the attention and even constructed and designed. So the other one right now is not, just the west side. So if you look at the 22-23 plan, the east is removed and just the west side has the budget, and the grant. So the reports are two different, time periods, basically.
Okay, but yeah, all right, but the problem is you get the report of last year.
Right. And
I said that whole year later.
yeah, this is, part of the
All right.
requirements of the oversight committee that the board approves the oversight committee report, which, you know, I need to put together and have them, and we need to put together to approve, and then we bring it to the board, so.
All right. But it was here, I'm like, okay, it's confusing.
Yeah, it's last year's plan, where the other report is this year's plan, so that's the difference.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So without any questions here, I would like to move that we approve consent calendar C6.
Thank you, Vice Chairman.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Vice. So this is not very.
Something's bothering me.
Yeah, better. Sort of. We are done with the consent calendar. We're gonna move.
Sorry, I need to answer the roll call vote for,
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Director Danzel,
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood,
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Chair Lineback.
Aye. Okay, so there are no presentations today, so we'll move on to item E, committee reports.
Thank you. Item E1 is the ad hoc committee for parks, facilities, and recreation optimized plan stakeholder meetings, which is Director Gansel, but we just wanted to give Director Gansel an opportunity to close out his report for this ad hoc committee.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Lots, as we've heard over the last several months, I've had lots of meetings with this committee. The one on the 18th was our final one with the developers. That meeting went as I expected it to, but the overall, I think the public that got a chance to speak, the organizations got a chance to speak. I know I listened, I know our consultant listened, I know the staff have definitely listened to what's been said, and there's already talks of what needs to be done and what can be done. They've all understood where we're planning on moving, but there's still a lot more. You know, the general public still has an opportunity to reach out to the district via the website to turn around and give their opinion. Where I wish there was a way to have literally every person in the district, you know, give their opinion, but you know, as a person, you don't have to. You know, so the unfortunate thing is if you don't give your opinion, you can't be heard. But I thank you for the opportunity to sit on that committee for the last several months. I've learned a lot more about the district after my 12 years here. There's still always something to learn around here. And so thank you very much.
Well, I really want to thank you for your service on that ad hoc committee because it was a little more meetings than most of us have to worry about. So
I think I had 21 meetings in a
Couple months.
six-week period.
yeah.
So it was up there, but
We truly appreciate it. We know you attended every single one of them, and so thank you very much.
thank you.
And I don't know that it's necessary, but this ad hoc committee is no longer active. So we'll move on to item E2.
Thank you. That's the ad hoc committee for the annual general manager performance evaluation board, and they met on November 5th. And that's Chair Lineback and Director Secretary Yearwood.
Would you like to say something about our meeting?
Sure. Yeah, we met on the 5th and we looked over that question that we've always talked about whether we wanted to modify those a bit. We did modify it some and that's about all.
You know what I'll add to that is we specifically looked at those questions and the goals that our general manager had given us for this past year. And really decided that the questions were pretty adequate. We made some minor word changes, but that the goals could definitely fit into that format that already existed. So, that was a good deal of what we did was to go through that document and see, how those things might fit into the evaluation form. And they seem to do that, so that's why we only made a few minor changes. So that ad hoc committee is also concluded. And now we move on to item E3.
Thank you. Item E3 is the standing committee meeting, budget and finance, which took place earlier today. And that's Vice Chair Reyes and Chair Lineback.
Thank you.
Yes, Chair Lineback, I will start off, there were two discussion items that we were presented with. The first one, which was for the audit and financial statement, which Chair Lineback will report on. And the second one was a fiscal year 2022-23, the financial statement performance. And one of the biggest things that our CFO, Matt, had asked was, did we feel that the way he was giving us the information for the quarterly reports and for our monthly, did they come out as clear and as concise and for us, or if there was something else we wanted him to add or take off. And we looked it over, and as you can see, we had said that it seems like our board is able to use those reports much better now, because we see the budget, we see the actual, we see what's the situation. He gives us the variance, saying this is where we're supposed to be with spending, and this is where we're supposed to be with income, and very direct and concise. So I think it's worked very well. And so we expressed that to him, and at this time, unless any of my board members want to add anything else, we were reporting that we've given him the go signal to keep this coming the way it is.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes. And then regarding the fiscal year 2021-2022 independent audit and draft financial statements, first of all, Vice Chair Reyes and I were both really happy to see these come in early. I do believe that it's helpful to the district to get that information in a timely fashion. So if there's anything there that needs to change the way we go forward, we get to see it. And secondly, our finance department, once that audit is complete, can move forward with the current year's work and also the next year's budget that's already being thought about. So I think we were just really happy to see this audit being done earlier than usual, and hope that it continues if possible. As far as the statements are concerned, there are no findings by the auditor, which is what we always like to be able to say. Good job. It's a good job, that's right. So what that means is that the financial statements in the independent auditor's opinion fairly state the district's financial position with no significant areas of concern. So that's really good news. And beyond that, we were happy to see that the fund balance at the end of last fiscal year ended up a little higher than budget. And we always like to see that. Of course, you're not allowed to spend more than the budget, but it was higher than the amount I expected, which was the asset sale that happened at the beginning of the last fiscal year. And I thought, other than that, it was more or less going to be about just the value of that revenue. And instead, it was a good $1 million plus more than that. So we were happy to see that. So all in all, the final audit will be, all things being equal, presented to the board next month. That's my report. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I think everything's there. I will let our CFO tell you all the goodies that we have been able to amass in this process. It was a very, very good year for Cordova Recreation and Park District. And, they talk about the, pension obligation that we have talked about. And, everything is looking very well. We worked so hard with staff, and staff has delivered.
Okay, thank you. So now, the next item on the agenda is public hearings, of which there are none. So we will move on to the regular calendar.
Thank you. Item G1 is to approve and authorize the general manager to execute an office lease for the location of 11070 White Rock Road, Suite 130, Rancho Cordova, California, 95670 for the district office. And I'll turn it over to CFO Matt Goodell.
All right, good evening. Chair Lineback and board members. So our current lease is ending in June 2023, which is right around the corner, not that far away. So in anticipation of that terminated lease, we began a search a few months ago about looking about other options. And so we viewed about 12 properties that mostly matched the conditions that we were looking for. And we're thinking about space for current and potential growth for staff, visibility and accessibility to the public, branding and marketing our agency as an independent special district and parks provider for the communities, a dedicated board meeting and professional space, and of course, the cost and the length of the term. We found a range from 5,000 square feet to 12,500, small or large, as we kind of landed in the middle of that met our needs. And then the rates that we saw were from $1.85 to $2.30 per square foot. And so we were able to negotiate and actually get lower than that. So we picked the lowest choice. It was clear that was the number one based on the conditions I stated. It became even more clear when we did a staff tour, followed by an agendized board tour and negotiation with the landlord. That was very generous in the aspects of tenant improvements being covered by the landlord, branding and cost. The building owner does believe that the tenant improvements are kind of on a tight schedule, but they can be completed in time by the move-in date. However, the lease needs to be executed prior to that, so of course construction can take place and happen. Legal counsel did review the lease agreement and it's fine with it. Some tweaks that we're going to change to some of the language that we have to take care of, but overall it's ready to go. And so staff is recommending that the board authorize the general manager to enter into the 10-year lease starting June 1st, 2023. That's my report.
Okay, thank you, CFO Goodell.
This is weird with the camera. I see you.
Okay, and so now are there any public comments to this item?
Yes, thank you, Chair Lineback. I would like to note for the record that the board received written comments this afternoon, and those have been distributed. And I see one hand raised. So, Mark Mattis, please begin, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, board members, and to the staff of the Rancho Cordova Recreation and Park District. My name is Mark Mattis, citizen of District 2 and the candidate for District seat of District 2. I want to state for the record, as a candidate for District 2 seat, the consideration or action to approve item number G1 this evening is completely irresponsible. Board members Lineback, Reyes, Danzel should recuse themselves because the election for their seats are not completed. Do the right thing and postpone this matter so the district can adapt quickly to fluctuations in the economy and its revenue stream, the taxpayers. This is a consequential decision requiring more than $100,000 a year, $100,000 a year in extra expenditures, more square foot that you don't need, and you can reduce, and by reducing the public's access to the agency and probably the agency's image. The current space is not fully utilized. Your current location is not fully utilized, and there is a lot of backup space at Hagen. The cost to move, remodel, rent additional unnecessary space, wasted money. The costs are understated in your report, and there is no mention of return on this investment, and that's very scary. Spending 90% more for something less makes no sense. Do the right thing and postpone the matter for the community you serve. Where this meeting is being held right now, you have adequate space. All the furniture and equipment you need is there. If you're worried about the city logos behind you for your branding, just cover them up. You can get some really nice logos that cover them up that cost a lot less than $1 million. Recreating a new boardroom for the district, even a poor version, will be very expensive. I have background facilitating these types of meetings. I know what these projects consist of and the major investment up front, along with the servicing due to usage, lack of usage, and all the equipment and the equipment lifespans. Do the right thing and postpone this matter for the youth sports leagues. Focusing on an HQ for branding and marketing is the wrong approach. It's a staff-centric view for the community, of the community. The HQ building and staff are not what the public sees or understands. What they are seeing are the facilities which they use. Spend these vast amounts of dollars on improving the district's image there, which will actually matter to our residents instead of creating yet another space for the district office. The focus here seems to be all wrong and the priorities reversed. The agency exists to serve the public, not the staff and board. Win the battle for image where people actually care about it, not in an address of a location or in a sign on a building that's statistically very few of our residents actually will ever visit. Do the right thing and postpone this matter for the kids. My name is Mark Mattis, and I am a candidate for the Cordova Recreation Park Board District 2 seat, and I'm asking everyone sitting there tonight to do the right thing. If not, then expect more changes to this board in the near future. Thank you for your time.
Right.
Do we have any other public comments?
I do not see the request for public comment.
Thank you. Would any board members like to speak about this issue?
I have a question. So I know in the future, we talked about building our own headquarters facility. That's way further than 10 years off on the way.
Correct. That is slated for originally in the Rio del Oro development area. And that is significantly far out from this 10-year lease. When you're looking to install a 10-year lease, it is because you don't want to keep moving your offices around. And with that 10-year lease, the rates to which we're paying have decreased because of that. There are several reasons why you don't want to keep moving your office, because you want to have this location. This current location, as a reminder, we have been here for 10 years. This was never the intention to be a permanent fixture here at City Hall. We are a very large special independent district, and we have, the need for us to have appropriate office space and meeting space for us to move forward and grow our staff. We have a need for additional office space at this time, and this is an appropriate space and appropriately priced for who we are today.
So I was just comparing the sizes. We have about 7,500.
7,777 feet.
Does that not include this?
7,400.
Correct.
Does not include that?
No, it doesn't include, yeah, so it's 8,400 total.
So then our extra 3,500 square feet that we'd be accessing, extra people have like 10,000 something square feet.
10,000.
Approximately.
Yes,
And but that includes this space.
and that would include a board meeting, meeting space, correct?
And so, and with that, you still think, so the 3,500 square feet extra, see, we don't have enough space now, is that gonna be adequate for more growth?
We have included in the space plan that's attached to the board packet, the appropriate number of existing staff offices that we need, as well as our projected growth for administration staff. So we have a total of, it's not excessive by no means. We have space for some growth, but not ultimate growth. And within the 10 years, the way it is going in terms of development and demand for additional supporting staff, it is appropriately scaled, including a board room for the public, which could also be divided and used for programming, neighborhood community outreach programs, maybe even some recreation programs, to be utilized in that space as well. And so there could be some cost recovery for having that additional space, which we would not be able to have that opportunity here for. And in essence, it is identifying us as an independent special district. In a time where there's a lot of development going on in the newer areas of this community, it's important for us to educate and let the community know that we are not the department of the city of Rancho Cordova. We are an independent special district, and this will help us, ironically, give us the opportunity to identify ourselves even more clearly.
I like that aspect of the whole thing, that giving us our identity back. Well, it seems like that's what it is. We had our identity at England, and then we moved here, we actually with just a little words on the sign out there, marquee sign. Underneath this city hall sign, so it does look like we're, part of the perception is that the public thinks that the city and the park. And I do like the idea of having your own space. The timing's kind of strange because of what we're going through right now and all that, that's good, but.
It doesn't though, because the lease is up, and I mean, when's the proper time to start looking? I mean, I was told a year in advance, and that's when the process started. You know, if we don't get an executed lease to get.
I don't, exactly, if they decide to throw us out.
We're homeless, you know.
Exactly, I totally understand that as well. Did anybody ever talk to the city about, something, a renewal or anything, or did you not get any good?
The lease came with, I think it was 5 years plus 5-year options, and so we've exercised them all. And have not been notified about any additional, so I have no idea to compare it to a rate, what it would be charged. That lease was done 10 years ago. So I imagine, the rental market's pretty crazy right now, so I'm sure the rates would be higher in comparison. So no, I've not been contacted by the city.
It will be hard, because you need more space, you probably want more space up there, but, I think the all younger. Good.
That space is actually already occupied from another.
Oh, it's in the condo.
I believe so, yes.
And accessibility on the ground floor. Is much better than upstairs.
Correct, it's on the first floor, and accessibility is on the ground floor, so it is very public friendly and accessible.
We only had some issues in the elevator.
Yes, we did.
We had to carry up.
Yeah, you had to carry up the stairs.
Good times.
Director Danville?
I have no question.
Okay, Secretary Yurko.
More about it. So the landlord is basically to do all these tenant improvements for us, kind of extra costs. Looks like we're throwing in. Or something like that.
Right, the
Yeah,
first 9
so-
months.
When we added the 2 offices upstairs, didn't we pay to have that all done?
We did. Out of our pocket.
To do any modifications upstairs for what we future, there would be cost associated with it. Whereas this building, though it may be a little bigger than what we need now, but be able to accommodate any potential growth in staff that we need to do.
Yeah, I imagine it'd be out of our pocket because the last round was for our expense, correct?
Yeah. But the new building is basically, we're designing for what we think it could be for that standard space.
Right.
Things can change, but as things are going now, will support the growth we're going to experience. And I know everybody said, well, you made a comment about Hagen. Hagen is on one side of the district. So Hagen could be used for certain things. It's not very accessible. It's not right in the middle of the district. This is a little more, that isn't right in the middle of the district, but a lot closer for people who are on the Sunrise Douglas side.
Yeah, that was a condition about being accessible and visible to all. And so it is kind of in the middle, correct?
If I remember, I wasn't on the board at that time, but that was one of the reasons also for Hagen was it's somewhere a little more centralized, a little more modern for the public.
And Secretary, you're, with that, in its case also, Hagen was evaluated to be not at all. It would take so much for them to be able to get all the internet, all the new, technologies and all that.
That wasn't the case, it was locked. And school was in and out, people couldn't get out to get to their meetings.
All right, well, that's all I have.
And 10 years go by fast. I mean, it's not a permanent move. It's just something that our lease is up. And so we need to do something.
My comment is, I was very pleased when we took our tour to see to it that it was a building that was not difficult to find. And I'm really looking forward to the signage and a lot of windows, and it allows for the sun to come in, healthy, good feeling, positive feeling. And aside from that, I'm also excited that we're going to be able to have space that our community can use. That is very important, that we have conference rooms for our community, also community. One of the things, though, I was going to bring to your attention, maybe as something you worked out or so, was when I was reading the lease, some of the lease. Tenant, you know, your rules and all this. One of them said that the building hours of operations are only from 7 to 6, okay? Monday through Friday. I'm sure you're gonna work something out because our board meetings are at 6:30.
No, we did talk about
Yeah.
nightly meetings, our
Yeah.
regular scheduled board meetings, and so as long as we do that ahead of time with
Yeah.
the attendant there, on grounds, we're fine, we'll leave it open to the end of our meeting.
Because we are, our board meetings and our board meetings are open to the public, so it has to be there.
Absolutely.
And we have PMRID and some of these,
Mhm.
so that's one of the main things I'd like you to make sure. That we have the ability to access it beyond the 6 o'clock hours. Or
So we can't end the meeting at 6, is that what you're saying?
we can't start
Or
at 6
start.
and end the meeting at 6. But yes, so, other than that, you know, I see the plan, I can see that we have, it's not, I've been here since we've been in Hagen, and, you know, I can see how we have from that time tried to plan our own office. But we were very responsible and we had to work with what we had. And that's why they were like, you know, as we said, not permanent. And we do know that we're going to have an opportunity to be in a more central, permanent headquarters place, but that's going to take quite some time.
Right.
And I understand the need to make this decision because your lead time to get out of here in 6 months.
Yeah.
Or you
Sure.
will have to pay, penalty, whatever, is already there, and we need the 9 months, you know what I mean, of all this tenant improvement and all that, and they're giving us that free rent. So I understand, the need, and the urgency to make this decision, also because we want to be responsible and, let our landlord know that our intentions, you know,
Absolutely.
because then, especially in commercial, you know, you need a little lead time. Don't get a 30-day notice. Oh, I'm leaving. That's not at all. Okay, so I understand. Other than that, it looks good. It looks like staff has really put in a lot of time to be able to see to it that it will provide, not only space for staff, but also community.
Yeah.
Space for community. And it's a very nice location. It's very easy to find, you know. So I'm sure we'll find a lot of our other PMRID more attended. I'm sure we'll have the foundation being able to have all these. I mean, that's really everywhere we go. We want to make sure there's some space for the public. And so I'm happy about that. Thank you.
I'd like to mention that, if anyone goes to Costco, you drive right by there every time. If you come from my side of town. So, and, you know, White Rock, that is such a hard place. White Rock Road, you know, is a large road in this community and well-known, and so I don't think it will be hard for the public to find us. I would like to re-emphasize a concern that Mr. Mattis raised about the cost of the move. And to be very clear, all of the tenant improvements are being paid for by the landlord. That is not an additional bill to the district. And they have also given us a moving allowance and an allowance for installing our IT and telephone needs. In addition, the first 9 months, beginning, I guess, July 1st,
June 1st.
June 1st,
Right.
the first 9 months,
Starts June 1st.
starting June 1st, are at no cost to the district. And unfortunately, for instance, another tenant in this building was given 2 months' notice to leave.
Yeah.
And we cannot move an operation this size in 2 months. And so being foresightful, and, you know, giving yourself the time before the end of this lease to really take a full year to find the best place for the district and its residents. So I think that we've done a smart job and a good job. I'm usually try to be very circumspect, but I will say that the election hasn't been called. This board operates with its current members through next month's meeting. And so the vote is not a vote of prospective, not yet certified board members. And so I hope they don't see this as a slap in the face. But this is our job to do until, you know, our term is up. And if our term is not up, we will do our job. So,
I have a couple more comments.
okay, go ahead.
Well, I like the adequate space inside. I can visualize what it's gonna look like. Although the schematic that we looked at, Vision 3 or whatever it was, showed a podium that really wasn't curved. I like, you know where this one's curved? I can see everyone's faces. Just a slight little curve. I'm not gonna see.
Yeah, we looked at that. It was gonna take too much space to have the platform. If you do this kind of a curve, it was gonna take,
Or maybe you just have the curve for the 5 directors and then.
There is a space, you know, width concern. I mean, the width of that particular area isn't as wide as this particular room, so we're not looking to replicate this. We're looking to retrofit it into the appropriate space, so there will be a curve. It may not just be like this curve, but there will be an opportunity for us to be able to interact like we do up here based on that space plan. But Matt and I did work with the architect in that design, and we ensured that we wanted to make sure that there was some visual amongst the board members so that we could facilitate a meeting that way.
And I know on the signage, on the building is gonna be great because people are gonna drive by, they're gonna see it. Boom, there's our logo, the words, whatever. And I think you mentioned about a monument sign, and the one thing I don't like is you see that, you park your car and it looks like there's a side door here and there's a door there. You don't really know where the front door is. And actually, when you go in that door, it's not even the front door. So if we can get, if the monument sign can be on that part of the area, right by that door you go in, so that when we have ribbon cutting, we have our signage there, people can see and all that.
We can work with that.
Okay.
Temporarily, they will not allow us to, the monument sign refers to the monument sign that already exists on White Rock Road. Where we have it here, we are just listed as one of the tenants in that campus.
Right.
It'll be the same thing. The difference is like what I had asked you to help with the design for is having our CRPD logo and Cordova Recreation Park District on the building, visible. Now, the entry, we could not brand it because it is not exclusively our building. It is a space within the building. There are other tenants there. But when we're doing a ribbon cutting for this, we could have temporary signing out for that, but we couldn't necessarily put a brand over the main entrance because there's other tenants.
Well,
there
I
as
think
well.
you need to somehow have a designated sign that people know front entrance is to the left and not.
Yeah, we can work with this.
Okay, if there are no other comments by the board.
See an additional request to comment further, or discretion to accept additional public comment.
I don't see any reason to take any additional public comment, so I think I will just entertain a motion.
I'll move, Chair Weinberg, can you hear me, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, I will move that we approve and authorize the general manager to execute an office lease for the location of 11070 White Rock Road, Suite 130, Ranch Cordova, California, 95670 for the district office.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes. I'd like to second that motion. Chair Lineback, and roll call vote, please.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Dr. Danzel,
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood,
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Chair Lineback.
Aye. Okay, now we'll move on to item G2.
Thank you. Item G2 is to adopt resolution 22/26, amending the full-time and part-time rate schedules as required by California Code of Regulations, section 570.5. And I'd like to welcome to the podium HR Manager White.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Lineback, Board of Directors. I'm bringing forward a resolution 22/23-26 to amend the full-time and part-time rate schedules. And we must do this in open session as required by California Code of Regulations, section 570.5. So we have talked about salaries and wages quite a bit this fiscal year already, and this is the next step of this process. On August 17th, just speaking about salaries and wages on August 17th, we approved a salary scale adjustment to include COLA, a 3% COLA. And then last month, the Board of Directors approved the proposal to amend the salaries and wages to meet the median of the market as presented by Ralph Anderson and Associates. So this is what has been prepared by our consultant, except we also had to include an additional adjustment to be compliant with the California law that minimum wage has increased. It was added as part of the law that if inflation went up over 7%, and I believe around now, I think it's changing, but it's about 7.8%, that there is an increase in minimum wage. We were already at $15 an hour, and it's gone up to $15.50. And so that was not considered as part of the study. And so I wanted to include that here because we had to make those adjustments. And that fiscal impact just for minimum wage could be around 23,400 with our current staff. If additional staff are added, or some people, if there are less staff, that could vary, of course. As you had approved in our last meeting, the cost, just salaries alone for increasing the scale as presented for the next 6 months is $143,338. And that's pretty much it with my presentation. I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Are there any requests or comments by the public?
There are none.
Okay, thank you. Director Sloan, do you have any questions or comments? Director Danzel? Secretary Yearwood?
I do not.
Okay, Vice Chair Reyes?
None.
Okay, I have none either. So that being the case, can we have a motion?
Director Board of Directors adopt resolution 22/23-26, amending the full-time and part-time rate schedules as required by California Regulation Section 570.5.
Thank you, Director Danzel. Thank you, Director Sloan. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan.
Aye.
Director Danzel.
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood.
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Chair Lineback.
Aye. Okay, so now we move on to item G3.
Thank you. Item G3 is to authorize the general manager to approve an amendment to the ground lease agreement with Sci-Fi Networks, Rancho Cordova LLC, and to install additional communication utility cabinets in designated parks. And I'll turn it back over to CFO Goodell.
All right, good evening again. So in October 2021, the board approved a partnership with Sci-Fi Networks Rancho Cordova LLC to install communication utility cabinets on appropriate park locations. There were 16 that were specifically identified. But currently, now during construction phase, Sci-Fi recognized the need for 2 additional cabinets for a total of 18. The CRPD team met Sci-Fi representatives and identified appropriate locations on those parks. And those are Haven Community Park, located between the front pond, the parking lot, and the school access road. And I believe there's a picture in the staff report notating that spot. And then the second is at White Rock Community Park on the far east side corner towards, past the tennis courts in the east corner. There is also another cabinet going in at White Rock, and it's on the western side, so we'll be opposite of each other. So there'll be two on that park site. The cabinets will bring in additional property use revenue of $8,400 annually upon substantial completion. And staff recommends the approval of the cabinets and amendment to the grounds lease agreement. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Goodell. Are there any requests for public comment? Okay, Director Sloan. Director Danzel. Secretary Yearwood. Vice Chair Reyes.
Just one, they, normally in these things, they are responsible for maintenance and fixing and.
Right, yeah, it's all spelled out in the ground lease.
Good.
Yeah.
And that's all their
And
responsibility.
they remove them too, that need
Yeah.
to be replaced as it was.
That's it.
Okay, I was kind of wondering, it kind of looks like, would it take up a parking spot? Because it's like I thought our parking went right up to the access road. And then,
Yeah, I think the goal was to stay away from the parking lot, because I know there's gonna be work done, no?
It's not gonna take up a parking.
No,
spot.
yeah, it'll be on that far. It'll be in the bar.
Yes.
Right.
it's past here in the parking, okay. Yeah, I see, okay, sorry, thank you, that's all I have.
Okay.
So, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I authorize the general manager to approve an amendment to the ground lease agreement with the Sci-Fi Networks Rancho Cordova LLC to install additional communication utility cabinets in designated.
Thank you, Director Sloan.
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reyes. Roll call, please.
Director Sloan,
Aye.
Dr. Danzel,
Aye.
Secretary Yearwood,
Aye.
Vice Chair Reyes,
Aye.
and Chair Linebacker.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now we move on to H, Board of Directors items.
Item H1 is board officers, appointments, elections, and ad hoc committee appointments, which I'll turn over to Chair Linebacker if there are any.
I have no ad hoc appointments to make, and I think we can move on to item H2.
Thank you. Item H2A, training report, there was none over the last period, so item H2B is community activities report and comments.
We can start with you, Director Sloan. Yes,
What page is that on?
155.
156.
Oh, you're, yeah, 156.
Second.
Yep.
At the top. Your first one was the song. All right, well, I went to the Whistle Stop Luncheon and listened to the candidates speak. I was really pleased what, my fellow board members had to say. Both with, conviction and, they were right on the mark. They told a story of, what our district, accomplishments have been. And, was very positive. And I'm very pleased with that. Next one, I'm not there. Well, I attended the BRCA general meeting, and we had a pretty good crowd. There was, I think about 100 people there. They representatives from the highway patrol, the police, sheriff, officers, Jacqueline Moreno and Pat Hume, both candidates for supervisors, both answered questions about the questions from the audience. And it was a very informative evening. And our general manager, Patrick Larkin, came out and spoke about the where we are, where we're going, and it was very it was a very well facilitated event. There you go. And Halloween at Hagen. I went to the Halloween at Hagen, and that was one of the best Halloween at Hagen. I wasn't there last year because I had a previous engagement with my son. Because, you know, he's graduating from the Fire Academy. And, I just thought that the use of the facility was well spread out. I don't know if you had the zombie run last year, but I love the zombie. You know, I think that was a real addition, and the little, jack-o'-lanterns floating in the little kiddie pool, and it was really nice, and that weird science guy. He did it, stepped it off, and those kids love it. And I've seen that guy before, I've seen the Rosemont, I've seen the, all kinds of different events, Kids Day. And still, it's still something that I really like, and, I don't know.
Special board meeting. That's when the special board meeting, the office.
The office tour was, my colleagues, we all walking. You have to have a lot of visionary, experience, which I kind of do, but I like to draw things out, and I like to ask questions about, well, how wide is this gonna be, how wide is that gonna be? Here we got big ceilings and wide open, and there we have 9-foot ceilings, so that changes the picture of a lot. But I think with the space, and there is an outdoor tree farm, and they have concrete. I think the space is gonna be well used. I hope that we follow up on the idea of having a wall that we can hang artwork on, from maybe kids from schools, things that they drew in the park or whatever. And, I think, you know, we're moving forward. That's our district, you know, mantra, has been move forward, you know, don't look back. And we are accomplishing great feats, and we are powerful, we are strong. District strong. And we're there today. Oh, yes, today we'll head to the CAR. Wait, I lost something. Oh, you went to RCA? You do not. All right, so Brian and I both went to a CRPD meeting, and we're finalizing more on the conference. And they decided to do something new, it's working on the design, but recognition of board members that spent 32 terms in office. Or what they were leaving, they would be recognized by resolution from the CRPD, which would, I think, be kind of nice to hang on the wall, or, you know, put somewhere. And, on the legislative part, I guess it's projected that 25% of the people in legislation are going to be new members. So they suggest that, get to know them. And, we got a high grade here with Hoover, and so keep an eye on that, and then just be more involved. I'll let Rick Daniel kind of
Thank you, Director Sloan. Past month, I chaired a dinner with the stop and made a minute and a half speech from the heart, something I've gotten good at over the last few years. Special board meeting on November 1st. That was the tour of the new district headquarters. After that was State of the City. I like to tend to say the city, obviously, as a 40+ year resident of this community, and see what the city's vision is for the next few years. There were some things that I was a little shocked by. They called it, for our children, but me personally, I didn't see too many things for our children going in. I saw a lot of businesses and roadways and things like that, but I didn't hear them talk about anything other than an $8.4 million youth center that they just completed a couple days before the election, which was funny because they opened it and then they finished it, painting walls, things like that. But they talked about it being for the children, and like I said, I did not see that. It was other than being told the new Jamba Juice is going to go on the south side of town, I really was disappointed in that, being talked about for our children. I did attend the Ranch Cordova Youth Center grand opening, that they did talk about in the state of the city. It's a nice facility to spend $8.4 million on something is spending $8.4 million on things. The city always does things, you know, big and extravagant, and I'm hoping it's the use that they paid for on it. I unfortunately did not attend the Veterans Day celebration. I really try and make that one, and being a veteran myself, it's a good day to go. I did have something unfortunately pop up that day that took majority of my day, and my time that day, so I was not able to attend. And then I did attend the CRPD board meeting today. The 17th through the 20th of May, will be conference this year in Yosemite. Early January, they are putting together a board member orientation that I can get the district more information on that. And then also today we approved to move to a different legislative analyst, right? Our advocate. And so we're moving forward with that. And there's talk of, there is a date, but because of logistics, probably splitting it between North and South, a chance to meet her, have a mixer, and, you know, for the Northern California people to go to the CRPD's and Capri's headquarters to meet this person and be able to say where we are and what we want them to really work on for us over the next couple of years. Oh, okay. So, December 8th, it looks like is that meeting that we're talking about via Zoom for the new candidates. But we know Matthew Duarte, so it's easy to get a hold of him and make that conversation. So that's what I have, folks. Oh, I did forget about Halloween, I think. I'll let Charlie Brown talk about that.
Disappointing. How could you forget about Halloween and Hagen? Come on. That's the only thing I did last time. You saw what was there, you know why, that's the only thing I did.
Yes.
No. So, yes, I attended Halloween and Hagen, well, I didn't attend a trunk or treat, but, it looked great from afar. I even saw some of those decorations I donated a few years ago, thank you. Yes, yes. Yeah, that big blow up thing out front, I donated. I did not, I did not blow it up. Okay, I have enough hot air to blow it. Exactly, you're right. So it was different this year because we spaced the cars out a little more. So in years past, we've been on both sides of the same aisle, and it's just like a mad dash of kids looking for candy. So it was nice to kind of spread it out. I will say, I think it may have, because the event itself seemed like it was well attended, but I think people went down one aisle of trunk or treat and moved on in, got in line to go inside. So, because I ain't gonna lie, I was getting gobs of candy with you. The last couple kids got lots, so, and I still have lots, but, it was another fun year, and already planning for next year.
Okay, Vice Chair Reed.
Okay, so, I attended the Ranch Cordova Lunch and Whistle Stop on October 21. I was really kind of, how would you say, surprised. I was surprised at some of the unprofessional setting there. My name was misspelled, and not in just a little way. It was a totally different name. Irene, smack right there. They had misspellings, and their appreciation was misspelled. I'm like, this is not professional, and it was put together by the Rancho Chamber, which I would have expected a lot more. So I was very disappointed about that. And Diane, if you read this, you will big time, because that was not good. So then the whistle stop was very interesting. It was so neat for us to be able to talk to the crowd and tell them all the truths about our district. All the good stuff and all this, and you know, and I wish we had a panel better than just a discussion. I think that would be a lot more educating to the people. But it was nice to see people that I hadn't seen in a long time. Halloween at Hagen, oh, that was nice. It was really neat. The trunk or treat. Now, you know, I'm not one for dressing up. I don't wear costumes or what. I put a little something, like I had a big tarantula, like, you know, on my orange shirt. But it was really neat. And everyone was having so much fun. And I'll tell you, this really had a chance to ask people where they were coming from. We had people coming from Rockland, from Stockton, from Roseville, from Yogo, West End, from places that they literally had to come for what we've always wanted it to be, a destination. Right. So that weekend, and they were thrilled. And they were thrilled that they had this nice, safe, wholesome setting. This one lady said to me that this was not the first time she's come in all this. And she said to me, I am just so happy, thank you so much for the park, because this is really a good place. I've come every time, my grandkids, my kids, and it's always been so much fun, you know. And yes, as you go on up, we got the scientists and all this, the music, and it did feel very festive. And the kids were just loving it. And so I was really thrilled. That was really nice. I like giving the kids candy. But here's the other thing. I do need to give a kudos to our secretary, Yearwood. He provides such a trunk or treat, and he provides a place where families literally wait in line to get in front of this backdrop of Snoopy and the kids and them and all this. And I really, you know, that's really a big production there that he always does. But it's really funny because some people want to stay and it's like, okay, you got to move on. There are other people who want to come take pictures. That was really neat. And the weather was nice. It was really nice. And I liked the setting. You know, obviously we had a little more space. If you have a lot of space, then people don't look like they're all in your face, right? But there were a lot of people. And everywhere you looked, they were there. And they came from all over. And we're like, really? You come from Rockland? Yes. You know, you come from West Side? Yes. They've heard about it. So good job. Kudos to staff. Kudos to our social media, everything. And they keep coming back.
I heard people don't buy candy anymore, they just come to that event.
It's the cutest thing to see kids trying to make a decision, and mom or dad's like, okay, I know you like this, and I know you like that, and then you see them walking around, they're eating it. So it's really funny. The one thing I was gonna say, we know this, but later on in the stakes there were kids that didn't have any bags because we had wonderful diversity of cultures. And that was nice to see. And some of them were like, this is their first treat or treat. You know what I mean? And this is, what do we do? Oh, we need a bag. Say treat or treat. And it was fascinating. It was nice. And the parents were thrilled doing it themselves. So I thought, well, maybe next time we should have little bags that simply say, you know, Halloween at Hagen or something like that, you know. So, and this way, if it doesn't have a bag, doesn't come where they feel like so bad, or they'll have to come with a grocery bag that mom finds at the park. Okay, so I thought that would be a good addition. The special board meeting, November 1st, was really good. I think staff did an awesome job working this. Now, it's not like we just did this yesterday. We have been working towards it. Staff has been working towards this since the first time we had to renew and go for an extension. You know, we needed to make it happen, but we were being very responsible, and now we're ready, and now we can afford it, and now it's not just whimsical, And then I like the fact that we did get some good sweet deals, with this move. So I'm looking forward to, seeing the plays come up and, being there. Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess my report was a little, I guess I didn't include enough, but I did go to the whistle stop on October 21st. And spoke to the crowd there. And I appreciate the support of the district, staff coming there. And I'm sure they were quite interested to hear what other candidates for the offices had to say as well, so they were curious about that. So it was a good thing for you to come and see, a flash of the future. I also attended the Halloween at Hagen. We did the trunk or treat, the candidates trunk or treat, and it was a ton of fun. I love doing that, and have to figure out a way maybe to do another one. But or just come and help you out, right? Okay, I know your trunk or treat setup is amazing.
It's pretty much a Trump.
No, it's like, it's even better than the cement mixer now. I mean, it's really now.
This,
When you put your Charlie Brown shirt on. That attracts gnats. Charlie Brown's. Oh, well, I'm gonna.
There were no adults in Charlie Brown. Oh, I could say something about that, but I won't. And then I did sit in on the PMRID Oversight Committee meeting. I've always been interested in that committee, and I do try and attend the meetings and not interject too much, but they've really come into their own, this committee, and they're doing a really great job. And a good deal of that is the fact that they are now getting, good information about what's happening in the district from the staff. They're getting good reports. They're given the opportunity for feedback. And so it's a much more organized, professional committee, and I think they're doing a great job. And then lastly, the special board meeting on November 1st. I think the office space is great. I do see the problem that Director Sloan is mentioning about, well, we may have our name on the building. It might be a little confusing when you face the doorway and it's a blank, and you open the door and it's a blank. Yeah, so to find a way to address that's probably a good idea. But I absolutely think it's a very publicly accessible location. And I went in my wheelchair and it was accessible to me. And I think a first floor location is a great idea. And I think that the layout is going to work very well too for the district. So it's a nice building with some nice amenities for the staff, which, why the heck not, right? You need it, everybody needs a little, place to go and, unwind and then come back to work. Yeah, so it's nice. And that is my report. And I guess I don't have any comments. And so now we will move on to item I, comments by staff on non-agenda items.
Thank you. Item I1 is the district-wide monthly progress report for November, and I'll turn it over to General Manager Larkin.
Thank you, Clerk Jones. I just wanted to start off with the candidate orientation. It kind of came close to the last meeting, but I wanted to thank the board members that were in attendance for that. It was a great opportunity to educate the candidates on who we are. With board orientations, it's always important to have a flyover, really. It was pretty detailed, but a board orientation is much more comprehensive. But it gave you a little flavor of what that So thank you for attending for that. We have been in episodes lately. So our first episode of Who We Are came out on YouTube and then was shared on social media channels. I am a superstar. I'll be taking autographs after the meeting this evening. Episode 2 will be aired, I believe, towards the end of this week or possibly next week. The focus on that episode will be CRPD, who we are as a special district. And we have special guest star Dane Wadley, who we remember from CSDA, who is a part of the cast of characters who will be on that episode. I love this idea. It's about a 3-minute type of clip episode. The one after this second one that will be aired will come out, and Matt Goodell will be the next star talking about CRPD finances with everything that is really related to how successful we are financially, and I'm excited for that. Couple of future episodes. Jill, don't worry, you're going to be on one of the episodes as a star. And then also, of course, Laura Taylor. And then we're going to look to do maybe something aside from that, more about the history of CRPD, because we have our 65th anniversary in 2023. So I probably will have a special episode about that. So more to come. I'm excited. I love this new project. And kudos to Shelby and Patrick for producing this. This is a low, no budget production. And so I really appreciate their efforts in that. We hosted a Folsom Cordova Unified School District CRPD 2x2 meeting. We discussed mutual projects as well as our accomplishments. Our relationship is very, very strong with the school district staff and their board. So we were excited to get together and talk about mutual projects, not only that we've accomplished, but also ones that we're looking forward to addressing in 2023 coming forward. And in particular, the Little League project that has been put on hold, that we will hopefully get some answers and directions from both of the property owners, both ourselves and the school district, as to where we're going forward, if we're going forward with that particular project. So it was just great to get together with them. The Halloween Hagen, yeah, it was all right. It was great. I loved it this year. I always love it. Our family tradition now is to have a trunk. So I wrangled my teenage daughter and my wife, and we always get excited to produce a trunk. We were in competition this year as the Minion family, and so I think we held our own pretty well.
And the picture, the great one's great.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. I haven't seen it yet, but thanks, Rick.
You posed for it.
I did, so I'll own it. I'll be more than happy to be the Minion model for the district. That's cool.
Video of things to the video around video of your work.
I'm not sure if we took any video at this particular event.
Yeah.
I'll be saying yes.
That's kind of cool to put that into some.
A little episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we did.
Yeah. So we, of course, toured the new office space. Thank you for coming out and checking that out. It was an agendized meeting because we were expecting to have, the board members attended. So thanks again. I agree. I think it's a great location, and the price and the deal that we're getting is very responsible, and also meeting our needs, not only now, but also our future growth, which isn't too far out here in terms of activating some of the recruitments that have been pending. So Laura, you're going to get your person finally to help you with this gigantic flow of development agreements. So thank you for being patient and understanding. So we also provided a CRPF, Matt and myself provided the CRPF board orientation to a new board member who was not able to meet the general board orientation. So we're happy to provide that for them. And then we also, with a group of us, helped serve the meals at the Veterans Day Senior Center. So I love being the hands-on person who is, I was the potato guy. Yeah, I was the scooping potato guy in the assembly line. So, always fun. I love that we're grounded as a staff and we truly understand what it means to serve. So I was more than happy to be a part of that assembly line and helping serve food for the veterans in that program. We launched up, thank you Danielle, for the annual notification has been sent out for the office, the records management program. So offices will start compiling their records for retention or destruction according to our schedule. We have a new employee here who you will see going forward. His name is Mark Lawler, and he is our new videographer. And so thank you, Mark. And so when you see him around, he is the one setting up this beautiful, scenery for our ability to do hybrid meetings. And so we have gotten better and better, and this is the best one we've had so far. So thank you, Mark. We're happy to have you on board with us. We had our audit. Matt has worked really hard on getting all of the information available from all of our partners. And I believe today even the draft audit was, I'm not gonna say it, the draft audit was reviewed by the Budget and Finance Committee and will be available for the December meeting. You can say that, that's fine. Yeah. Okay, so the final audit was produced for us today. And so we have the confidence of knowing that that final audit will come to the December meeting. We have been doing very well with the optimized plan. At the Halloween at Hagen, I didn't say haunted at Hagen, the Halloween at Hagen event, we had approximately 350 participants doing the community engagement activity with the dots. We had about 1,300 dots placed, so that total participation with the first event and this event, the first one being the Rosemont Community Day, and this time we have about 700 participants in sharing their dots or what they prefer as an amenity. Our surveys have gone out, they've been out for quite a while now. We're doing okay with the amount of return of a survey. So we're about 350 right now. And so we want more. We want as much as well we could possibly have. So Laura and I contacted our consultant. They suggested that we mail out a random sampling of approximately 15,000 mailers, which will hopefully entice them to fill out the survey and return those answers with an incentive attached to that, meaning that they'll be entered into a drawing with a $100 gift certificate to participate in one of our recreation programs. So we're hoping that will work, and we're also landing another ad in the messenger and the grapevine. So as you suggested, that is already in the works. And so I'm excited to see if that return comes up higher. I have a goal, and maybe it's a little too aggressive, but I'm hoping that I get closer to what in my mind would be appropriate for our sized district. We also have a Grant Line 208 Arista del Sol Community Park Outreach and Design Meeting coming up. That is on Tuesday, December 6th at 6 p.m. It will be hosted at the Robert J. McGarvey Elementary School. And this is one of the community parks that will be coming into the Newark area. We had already done a community outreach survey in that particular area just to kind of get an idea of what maybe some of these conceptual designs will look like in presenting at this meeting. The response was 700 responses to this community outreach effort. And there has been a very interesting list of priority amenities that came from this survey. So we are looking to get more feedback at this meeting and then have some conceptual designs and possibilities. But I guess it's fair to say that the number one surprise in that survey result was cricket. And we're excited that that is something that we already have a cricket pitch, as you know, in the district, but this would be something where we can incorporate it intentionally into a multi-use field setting. So we're excited about that. It's something that we would be interested in seeing how we can design with that element going forward. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jill Nuns, who will run up to the podium because they're not on camera to give her.
Right. Good evening. Community events. So obviously you all attended Halloween at Hagen. I did not, but I heard it was fantastic. No, maybe next year if I don't take my New York vacation every time for Halloween. But it was a fantastic event. I heard it went very well. We appreciate your support being there, having the trunk or treat. I appreciate the staff's, efforts in making sure that we provide a really fun and exciting, evening, afternoon for the community. We approximately think about 1,500, people showed up to the event. So thank you to the staff and to the board, and of course for the community for coming out to the Halloween at Hagen. We can't wait for next year's. Over at the Cordova golfers are still playing a bunch of golf, which is fantastic. Beach Hut Deli on Friday, October 28th, did their own little Halloween party. So from 7 to 10 p.m., we burned the lights so that people could come out to the golf course, enjoy Beach Hut Deli, and then put some balls on the range, as well as do some putting on the putting green. So we appreciate the collaboration that we have with Beach Hut Deli. We continue to grow that relationship and hoping to get more and more golfers out to the golf course, especially after the sun goes down. And that's really our goal moving forward.
What was that?
That was on Friday, October 28th. So we're super excited about the future of burning those lights and getting that driving range open in the evening. Again, still working with Kevin, who's the owner of Beach Hut Deli. Probably you'll see a lot more of that in the spring once the weather kind of gets back to being, a little bit warmer. But we're excited for that. So come on out next time we've got the lights on the driving range. In recreation, we're still plugging away with all of our programs. In recreation, we have a lot of youth and teen programs going on right now. We had another park adventures over at the Rosemont Community Park that had 11 participants. So we're excited that we are offering some more programs out in the Rosemont area and that people are participating in those programs. We obviously have all of our youth classes still going on at the Hagen Community Center. The Hideout, which is our teen center, is flourishing with about 33 registered members and an average of 15 plus teens in attendance daily, which is a really great number. So I'm really proud of the staff for putting on some really great programs and having the space for kids to be able to come out after school and just chill out at the Hideout and do whatever they want to do for their time until their parents come and pick them up or whatever it may be. So Hideout is flourishing, which is fantastic. Our STEAM preschool is thriving. We've got cooking over at the NOSAC Center. We've got Taekwondo classes. Junior Kings basketball is back. It's strong. We have 105 young athletes that are registered and participating in another exciting Junior Kings basketball league. So happy that the Mather Sports Center can be home to that league. And again, another successful season. So thanks to Nina and her staff for pulling that together. We have a strong adult program still going on. We've got classes at Hagen, we've got fitness classes, and then we also have our fall adult basketball season that's kicked off on October 17th with 11 teams over at the Mather Sports Center. We've got lots of rentals, and of course, as always, we have lots of senior programs. Heather and her staff are doing an outstanding job. And then on Monday, October 10th, over at the Neil Orchard Senior Activity Center, the Cordova Senior Advisory Board had their annual fundraiser to support the senior center. And that's what they do. Basically, they help and support anything that we really need over at that senior center. So they had a baked potato and bingo fundraiser. They had about 70 participants and was able to raise $655 for the senior center. And so what the advisory board will do, will work with Heather and the staff to decide how they want to go ahead and spend that money for that year. So we're appreciative of the senior advisory board. In parks, you can see on page 166 that at the Sunridge Park Spray Park, the aquatics maintenance staff cleaned, prepped, and resurfaced that spray park surface, and you can see the before and after photos. Wow, how amazing this coat of paint can, what a coat of paint can do for a surface. So that spray park is now ready to go when we reopen in May, and then there's also plans sometime, I won't promise a date, but sometime this spring as well to do the Heron Landing Community Park and to resurface that. So thanks to the park staff for keeping ahead of the game and keeping our facilities looking nice. And with that, that ends that part of my report. And I'll get into the Board of Directors special event invitation page. Lots going on in the next month or so. We've got a couple winter wonderland events. We've got our community event that's coming up on Saturday, December 3rd, from 9 to 11 a.m. over at the Neil Orchard Senior Activity Center. That's our breakfast with Santa. But what we're gonna do this year is we just renamed it to Winter Wonderland, so it's a more inclusive community event. And we'll still have, Santa there that people can take, photos with Santa, but we felt like it was time for us to just rebrand that event and have the community come out and enjoy an inclusive celebration.
Will you have breakfast?
We will. Got it. And then we have a whole bunch of annual recognition events for CRPD that we've had throughout the last several years. Due to COVID and still having some restrictions on meeting as a large group, what we're going to do is continue what we did last year and have those annual recognition events at each one of the facilities. That way we're still being, smart about not having the entire staff meet at one event, and then if we have a COVID outbreak, that would be for us. So we've got a couple of those different recognition events listed there for you to see. And then we also have the Senior Winter Wonderland, which is for the seniors on December 14th at 11:30. And then Secretary Yearwood, polar bear plunge.
Already putting up my calendar.
You promised us that when that pool opened, that you would do the polar bear plunge. So it's back. So that's gonna be on Saturday, January 14th, 2023. I believe it's 2023 already, at 9 a.m. So you'll see that invitation, and that's being sponsored by our foundation. So with that, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. We are now on to item J, informational items.
Thank you. Item J1 is articles, correspondence, and public outreach. We have 2 articles, and then also to draw your attention to the flyer in there regarding our annual holiday drive for unhoused students. I believe those donations are due December 8th, I want to say. I included a copy of the PMRD oversight committee minutes, and then we have the senior center newsletter. And then item J2 is your calendar.
Okay, thank you. So now we're on to item K, closed session.
Thank you. This evening we have 2 items in closed session. Item K1 is conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to California Government Code Section 54956.9. Cordova Recreation Park District versus the City of Cordova. Sacramento Superior Court case number 34-2021-8000375. And item P2 is a public employee performance evaluation pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957, title General Manager.
Okay, so I'm going to suspend this meeting to go into closed session at 8:09 p.m. Okay, so we are resuming our board meeting at 9:22 p.m. coming out of closed session. And for item K1, no reportable action was taken. And on item K2, no reportable action was taken. So at this time, at also 9:22, I am adjourning this meeting to the next regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Cordova Recreation and Park District to Wednesday, December 21st, 2022 at 6:30 p.m.